Hi everyone, this is Claire at StudentRDH. Hello. All right, thanks for everybody for being here. It is noon my time, East Coast time. I don't know what time it is for you. But today we're going to talk about the NBDHE update. So some of you, I don't know if some of you might have been on the last webinar. The reason why I'm asking is the information would be pretty similar. This is the invite just in case you have not been able to attend our January update session, although there's still one more that I would like to provide for you as an update. It is about the short format examination. So here in the chat, I would love to know where you are from. If you can put in the chat, hey, I'm from North Carolina, and I'm graduating in May, I would love to know where you're from and when you are graduating. That actually helps me as well understand, well, what should I really talk about today, depending on when you are graduating. So you are from Denver, Colorado, Texas, Rochester, New York. Oh my God. Okay. We have a lot of May graduates, so that's what I see a lot. Oh, Canada. Hey. Okay, so if we have Canada, okay, I have another webinar February 22nd about Canada, okay? So I apologize if you're here today, but this is for the NBDHE, which is the American guidelines. I'm going to do a separate one that is scheduled for February 22nd, and that's going to be for Canada very specifically, okay? And I hope that makes sense. All right, who else do we have over here? We have, yeah, thank you. Atlanta, Tennessee. Okay, we have friends literally from everybody in the world. Okay, so 2021, it seems like all of you are going to graduate in, okay, May to March. Thank you, Mildred. And I always like to do a lot of shout out for all of our students, but at the same time, we just have a lot of you guys today. So let's see if I can see some of you over here, some of your name, but some of you are Cabrillo College. Okay, but hey, it's always nice to see who's here. So I'm actually going to share my screen literally, which is, you're gonna actually literally going to see yourself. I like to do that just because it kind of looks like we are all together. So I would just want to, help you see if you, let me see if I can have a bigger view of this thing. Okay, maybe not. Okay, a lot of you are here. If you want to turn on your camera, that is simply okay. I'm going to take live Q&As over here as well. So we have Gabrielle, Elizabeth, Juliana. I'm going to skip a lot to Beth, Giselle, Casey, to McKinsey, to Marie. Some of you, Brooke, I recognize your name from chatting with me via email, I think. And if you tell me your Instagram, maybe, it's sometimes really hard to understand, your Instagram name versus your real name. So we have C, iPhone as well. We have a Hannah, two Hannahs, another Brooke, Courtney, Krishna, Kim, Mildred, Sonia, and many more. Okay. So again, I don't want to waste any of your time. Should we jump right into what we have to know for the new updated guideline of the NBDHE? If it's a yes, please put yes on the chat so I know you're ready to go. Perfect. I see a lot of yeses. Thank you so much for participating. I know it's hard sometimes to be on the underside just of the screen, feeling like, hey, you're just getting some passive information, but I would like to ask you to be active. Ask me questions, stop me, because your question is probably a question that your other friend has. Very general, generally, we all think very alike. We worry about the same things. So there are two tabs that I have open. Do you see those tabs? All right. Yes, thank you. Again, it's nice if you tell me so I understand what I have to do. Okay, so what I really want to do is, you probably got an email from me very recently that says, is the short form more difficult? Because have you heard that from other students, other faculty members, people who just took the examination? It is more difficult, right? Caitlin, thank you for saying that. Taylor, right? Okay, so here is the announcement from the NBDHE. Okay, I'm looking, it's literally so if you know, this joint commission is where everybody, they basically make the rules, and that tells you how you're gonna sign up and all of that. So I'm looking at this, and let's read it together, okay? So here it is, the Joint Commission recognizes the frustration felt among dental hygiene students, faculties, and administrators due to circumstances involving COVID-19. Okay, blah, blah, blah. But here it is. The length of the NBDHE has been reduced. We know that already, right? And you will complete this in less than 4 hours. We know this too. Now let's jump into this. Candidates who have recently taken the NBDHE have reached out to DTS, expressing concern that the short format examination might yield higher failure rates than expected. Okay, let's continue. Is it recorded? Okay, maybe I should double check that before I continue. Thank you for letting me know. Let me quickly see if I am recording this session. No, I am recording. Perfect. Perfect. I am recording. Thank you. You guys know more. Did you see the red dot? Okay. Great. I have a few different screens right now, so I couldn't see. Thank you for helping me. Okay. So it is recorded. Let's continue here. So the statement was people feel like the failure rate is higher. And they have conducted psychometric investigations permitting DTS to meaningfully compare the performance of the standard and short. Standard is a long form. This investigation have found no meaningful differences between these two sets of forms. Meaning, to clarify, they're saying that candidates who attempted the NBDHE later than 2020 have more likely to fail regardless of whether they have attempted the full or short form. Okay, do you want me to recap what that really meant? Because they put some blah, 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 and we are trying to understand, okay, what are you trying to tell me at the end, right? So but basically what they're saying is they brought out some people to understand, okay, is the short form really more difficult than the long form? They brought some investigation, and they found no difference between the difficulty of the short form and the long form. Meaning that there is actually no difference. However, the failure rate is still higher than normal. The failure rate since 2020 is higher than 2019. Does everybody understand those statements? Okay, perfect. So again, it's actually untrue that the short form is more difficult. The higher failure rate, they say, is they think the higher failure rate is related to candidates being removed from their academic studies, meaning that you haven't really been able to go to school or getting the normal classes in your normal schedule that you had, and maybe your clinical experience were also affected. Again, less patients, many different things the learning that happens in clinic as well has been affected, right? And then that's why they think you perform less well. So again, there's no difference in the difficulty, and they're saying that it probably is, the failure is related to, well, maybe not being able to learn the way we really wanted to and needed to at the school, including in the clinics. Does that make sense to everybody? So Molly, the highest, and okay, let me tell you then why I think the failure rate is higher. Okay, so one factor is, I think, first of all, a lot of anxiety. I think we have a lot of anxiety because, thank you, Miranda, in a way it's shorter. it is proportional. Okay, so if you have this amount of question, they give you this amount of time. If it's shorter, give you this amount of question, then this amount of time. In my mind, though, it triggers a little bit more anxiety because, you know, like I don't have much time to complete this. So one part is that. Also, not being at the school like you would probably normally do, your faculties are extremely busy right now, so they are maybe not able to provide the tutoring that you used to have. You know, things have changed, so there is some sort of lack of support sometimes, and it's not because of anybody's fault, the school's fault. I know they're doing everything that they can. Another one, Mildred, you have actually pointed that out too, is okay, so let's say you have 5 teeth to scale. You know, if you make a mistake in like the first 2 teeth, you have some time to average out with other teeth if you do a really good job. However, if you have only 2 teeth to scale, if you make a mistake, you don't have other teeth in order to make up for those mistakes. Therefore, while you're graded on those 2, if you did great on those 2, it's fine. However, if you didn't do on those, well, at the end of the day, it's going to be harder to make up because there's nothing really to help you make that up. So that's why, in a way, having more helps everybody to average things out as well. Okay. You know, for example, if you're not a great cook, which I'm not really, I'm okay, I think. But anyways, I'm not that great. So if you give me like 2 dishes to cook, I might do an okay job, not that great. But if you give me 5, maybe I'll do a good job on 1 or 2 of them and do not a great job in 3 or 4 of them. But at the end, you know, it will help me average it out a little bit more. So a lot of that is related to that, I think. Okay. And also, Nicole, you're saying you don't see the amount of patients that you're supposed to see. So everything that you learn, like through anything you do with your textbooks or, you know, even StudentRDH, you don't get the time to actually see a patient and practice it and repeat it with a live patient, because that type of information, that type of learning is extremely important. It's like, you know, teaching kids how to do Lego on a screen, it's a little difficult, right? And even if they did great, the real Lego is different again. So something like that, we don't have the same amount of live patients or the same amount of care that we could have done earlier. So, you know, or some clinics had to close completely. So you didn't get all that training and you would just compress in one, you know, months or sessions or things like that. So those are the things that I feel like have, you know, made us feel, you know, it's just, we're in a little bit of disadvantage. I think we should acknowledge that. It's, again, nobody's fault per se. It's how things are designed now. We're all trying to cope with it. And also this just general higher level of anxiety. Honestly, me, I don't want to go out. Anybody's worried about literally COVID, okay. I didn't really worry about COVID until I think more recently, because I actually had a friend, she's a faculty member literally, who got COVID. Obviously, she's not going to school, but I'm like, oh my God, this is a real thing. What else? My partner's grandma has COVID. And I'm like, this is not a conspiracy theory anymore. Right? This is real. So, you know, I hope nobody is affected around you, but I have a higher level of anxiety. And I'm like, I really do not want to meet anybody. I'm grocerying in and out. I'm not hanging out to pick what tomato paste. I'm just picking one and I'm getting out. So, you know, those are generally the anxiety. So I just wanted to pull out this sheet. Okay, if you want, I'm going to copy and paste you exactly the link so you can go here today and read it word for word what they meant. Now, one thing I want to mention is some students, faculty members come to me saying, can we choose between the short format and long format exam? The answer is no, you do not get a choice anymore. You are all going to take the short format examination. That said, things can change. In March, maybe you can, but for now, nobody will have a specific choice. You will just register, that's it. It's going to give you the short format, okay? So also, you know, I wouldn't want anybody to wait around because we do not know when they're going to administer the long format again. And Laura, okay, you said it in a different way. I'm going to say what, repeat what you say. So basically, they're saying that the higher failure rate is due to quality of education going down and not the exam being more difficult. Laura, in a way, that's what it says here, if we can interpret it in a different way. Okay. So those are going to be, their statement. Obviously, it's difficult to say, hey, your quality of education has gone down. It's just really probably you have not been able to be at the school. For example, if, for example, I was graduated, I needed like 5 geriatric patients, maybe your requirements are different. You can only have 1 now because you cannot fit as many people in the clinic anymore. So again, our hands-on practice, how we process information to how we deliver with a real patient, those things have been changed. For anybody who's asking, is this going to be updated? This is not updated per se. But if you want this, just email us and we'll probably be able to share you a link where you can watch it again. And there will be an expiry date for the link again, because information is changing very quickly. So I would hate for you to listen to this a month later and say, okay, Claire said that. That's why there's gonna be a cap period, but we are recording this. Any questions on this? We're gonna go now to the actual NBDHE guideline and we're gonna dissect it together. Any questions so far about the short format examination, about it being more difficult or not? Unfortunately, I'll tell you that about the failure rate is 20-25, meaning 1 out of 5 students or 1 out of 4 students will fail. Okay, count who your best friends are. Do you have 4 best friends at the school? Unfortunately, 1 of them could fail. I hope that's not you for real. That means we have to really prepare, get everything we can in order for that to not happen to us. And thank you, Elizabeth, for being very, very honest. I do remember you from your name, definitely. And Elizabeth, I want you to think, that there's a lot of people, who have the same experience. And in a way, I don't want you to be too hard on yourself, because a lot of things happened, okay? And it honestly is probably not you being in a certain environment, being a bad student. Is probably a lot of things that helped you being in that, maybe that mindset, that specific day. And again, depending on where you live, actually, the sentiment about COVID may be very, very different. I don't know where you live in, Elizabeth, but for example, I hear in some areas in Florida, nobody cares. Where I am here, it's a real deal. Okay, so we have a lot of friends here, Burrow, Casey, saying, very nice things to Elizabeth. And yes, you have 90 days to wait if you fail to re-register. If anybody here fails or need more time to study, just email us saying, hey, this is my new exam date. It will extend it until you pass. That is what I want for all of you. Okay. And Elizabeth, again, you're here on this webinar. You're here continuing to prepare. You're going to be okay. Thank you. Everybody is so amazing here. Okay, so it's almost like a group mentality now, right? We're all in different places, but I feel like we really created this community when it's nice to chat with each other and really elevate each other and be honest with each other as well. So again, anybody who want to share anything, please put it here on the chat. It's like a sisterhood for sure. At the school, it's like a real sister brother. Right? Like you're in there together, you survive together or you die together, basically. That's how I felt when I was at school. Dental hygiene school is one of those things when you have to stick together, you have to support each other, because it's like mentally challenging, guys. I had a master's degree before I went to dental hygiene. When I went to hygiene school, I was so much more stressed than when I was doing my master's degree. Guys, if you're doing dental hygiene, if you're like, I want to continue my education, honestly, I feel like it's going to be easier for you guys. So, yeah, you have your friends, Krishna, they're like your family, and you do that because it's difficult. So I'm just saying, in a good note, if you're already finished with dental hygiene school, you're like, I want to continue my education, I'm telling you, it's actually easier than doing dental hygiene. So, oh, Beth, you did your master's before dental hygiene, and dental hygiene is way tougher, my God, Beth, right? I wonder what you did your master's in. Um, but I don't know what it is. There's something about the clinical requirements that are super stressful. We have a lot to memorize. When I was in master's degrees, a lot of just reading and writing. It was not really memorizing information. So, our brain is just, overwhelmed as well. And Molly being so helpful and supportive to Elizabeth. Thank you. Kinesiology, amazing, Beth. Wow, so you know all about the human body science. Wonderful. Well, what a great connection between that and dental hygiene. Thank you, Beth. Okay, so that's it. Let's read a few things here. And I want to just really point out to all of you that this is available. I'm going to just get you the link right here as well, so you can read the updated guideline too. Right now, the reason why I have to pull that again from the website is because, sorry, I'm just going to quickly re-download it again on my document, maybe on my desktop, is because it keeps changing, guys. Don't think that once it's up, you can keep looking at it and you are going to be okay. Okay, because sometimes literally they have typos. If you remember some of the other webinar that I did, so you have to keep seeing is what's really going on over here. So I'm actually going to pull this version out so we can highlight some things as we go. This is a 2021 guideline. It was updated in January 1st, and since then, there's a few things that have happened. Nothing major. So, okay, well, let's see if we can do this. It might be a little too big over here. Okay, how about this? Everybody sees it well? Everybody sees it well over here. Okay, so I'm going to keep scrolling and I'm going to get to what's called page 5. And why I want to keep highlighting things as we go, okay? The reason why I want to do that is because I want you all see very well. So some things that you all know is, well, in the US, you're going to use the universal tooth system, okay? So 1 to 32. Our Canadian students will be different. That's a separate webinar just in case. And A to T, we got this, right? Applejack kills teeth, okay? AJ. KT. That's what it is. Applejack kill teeth. That's how I remember to count the children's teeth because they're so different. Okay, so let's talk about the blood pressure guideline. Everything has been updated. Okay, new guideline. That's the only thing you care about. I don't think anybody learns the old guidelines. So we're clear on that. However, let's talk about the perio guideline. Here, see this, implemented in 2021, fall 2021. So all of you, that's why I asked when you're graduating, you said March to May generally. So you will still see the old guideline, but here it is. During this transition period, it is recommended that individuals become knowledgeable with what? What's the key word over here? Both. Ooh, okay, sorry guys. You have to know the old one and the new one. I know. So the only option you have is if you have not learned the old classification at your school, you have to go back and see what does the 1999, I know it's a long time ago, classification says. As StudentRDH, currently we still have the old one and the new guideline because of this too, because it tells you both. Okay, so after that, we will kind of transition to only the new ones. But if you're wondering why we still have sometimes old information, is because of that. This was released in 2017. We're in 2021, so it's taking us 4 years and more to actually have an updated version. So again, I don't know if you have StudentRDH, but right now at StudentRDH, we have all of those questions in both scenarios as well. So if you want to, please have a look at our perio chapter. This probably is the fastest way to master the old classification instead of you completely reading a new textbook or trying to Google some old guidelines. Anybody here is on the same boat as Nagin? On I only learned the new classification at school. We have Paula, we have Caitlin, we have Molly, we have Sonia, Anna, Liz, Valeria, Brooke. Oof, we actually have Joanna. We have a lot of students here again. Mildred. Okay, sorry guys. I'm trying always to also communicate to the school saying, hey guys, don't drop the old classifications yet. So hey, again, if if you have student RDH, you will have this information for both guidelines until you pass the examination. That said, there's one more thing I would like to add here, and let's see if I can actually draw it for you, or actually write it for you. Okay. Uh-oh, no, this is not what I wanted to do. Well, what I'm trying to say here is in StudentRDH, we have some questions such as sometimes, why do you use, for example, the recommendation for occupational radiology? Oops, no, whatever. This is not what I wanted to do. Let's see if this was 0.5 before RAM. Now, this has changed to 0.1 RAM. Anybody has discovered that yet in our book? This is the new textbook. This is the old textbook. The reason why StudentRDH will still have 0.5 RAM is because, as you can see, it takes about 3 to 5 years for every information to be updated. So that's why it's not because like the textbook is updated that's all of a sudden everything is updated. No. So what I want you to know is the difference, right, Miranda? Is I want you to know that the old guideline is 0.5. Very likely that the board examination here in 2021 are still using 0.5 RAM because, as you can see, it takes like years for them to be updated. What I'm trying to say is it's not because your like newest textbooks say this information that you're going to see this in your board. Do you understand a bit what I'm trying to say over here? Is I take all of those consideration when creating our book. So again, our book reflects old information. And sometimes you might wonder, is it because you don't want to update it or you're not updated? It's not because of that, it's because we know, but we are trying to time it better. So we're not suddenly updated. Let's say in our board review textbook, we only had the 2017 classification and not use the old classification. Then we're not doing a good job helping you pass the board examination because, as you can see, they're still using the old information. So that's what I'm trying to say. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes you might see 0.5. And if you have some other options, you don't have 0.1, then choose 0.5. If you have option of 0.1 and 0.5, that's when it gets really complicated. And sometimes, honestly, very honestly, we do not know. Okay, there are things that are constantly updated in a world of dentistry and science. And Paige, those are numbers for occupational dosage for radiology. Oh, sorry, non-occupational, sorry. Oh, totally wrong. So people who are not in dentistry, how much radiation should they get per year? What is the top number? That's what we're talking about. So as you can see, it went down significantly, but again, we're trying to just time it perfectly. So towards the end of the year or so, we will change our textbook to reflect this. But again, we are just trying to time it. So sometime if you have questions, email me. I will probably have an answer to that. However, email me saying, why is this clear? Got it? All right, let's continue. So another thing you have to also know is everything is multiple choice. Hey, good. You're happy, right? Everything is a multiple choice examination. Before there was some matching. Don't worry about any of that. Now, here it is. Pre-COVID, there was 350 questions. Now you have 155 questions. We're going to get into the schedule of those 155 questions, but just know this number. You are going to get 155 questions. We're good so far? Okay. Let's continue here. So now it tells you, okay, those are the things, those are the sections. So the first section is called discipline-based components. I call it session 1, just for simplicity. And if I keep scrolling, there's case items. I call it session 2. So there's 2 sections. Session 1, which is more like the simple questions and answer, which includes basic science, maybe radiology's basic science, provisions, dental hygiene services, such as maybe providing fluoride, and community is within the basic session 1. I'll call it session 1. There's 200 items if you take the full length. There's 85 items if you take the short. Now, what are they going to ask you in basic science? Well, literally everything that you have studied. I'm sorry, there's really no right answer here of what they're going to ask. If you think about general anatomy, I'm like, whoa, general anatomy of dental anatomy, that means everything. Yes, it is. So they don't really give you a real guideline of what you actually have to study. It's basically everything you have ever studied in your textbook, in your dental hygiene life, we will ask you questions on that. Basically, that's what I'm saying. So in a way, very, very honestly, in my opinion, this is not extremely helpful because it's like, okay, you need to know pharmacology and how do you get radiograph. But I mean, obviously, right? That's what we went to school for. So I don't want you to just take this too seriously. No way. You can read it saying, okay, do I know about dental caries, for example? It's like, do I know about performing dental periodontal procedure, probably NSPT, to maybe sometimes local, to maybe able to use the tip to do curettage, for example, things like that. So this is provisional dental hygiene, anything that's related to patient care. And then you have community oral health. So you have about 10 items that's about community oral health in your examination in the short form. I'm not talking about the long form right now. Community oral health will look later. It's in the form of testlet. Case studies, you have, well, 12 to 15 case studies. In the short format, you have about 5 case studies. It composed of history, chart, radiograph, and photograph. So you'll have a full picture of what's going to happen in a patient in the case in order to have about 10 to 15 questions each. And see here that it tells you you're going to have what medically compromised patients. Meaning that, you know, they're trying to basically tell you you're going to get a geriatric patient, you're going to have adult perio patient, you're going to have pediatric patients, you're going to have special needs and medical compromise. Basically, any range of patient is possible, but what you do not see here is healthy, completely healthy patient. You are not going to have a case where the patient is good, maybe like ourselves, right? We don't really have perio. You know, there might be some medical conditions, but when they say medical compromise, usually they really brought in like a medical heavy compromised patient. So those things you have to know. So this is for the long examination. This is written for the long format examination, but we're talking about the short format examination. So maybe what they're going to give you is 1 geriatric, 1 adult perio, 1 pediatric, and maybe 2 people medically compromised. So, you know, it's going to be a different mix of patients, but again, they're following this guideline of, so what I'm trying to say here is make sure you review geriatric, make sure you review pediatric, because they tell you here that you're going to be tested on it. Pediatric is not my strong suit, honestly, but you know, obviously they'll tell you, giving you a hint that you will see some questions related to that. All right, now let's continue. Let's see what the exam, the case studies look like. So you're gonna have, they say, a patient box, which is really a patient's information about, this is my chief complaint, how old, things like that. And you're gonna have a chart. So it might be, you know, a chart like that. It could be a chart like this. It depends on the case that you have. And you're gonna have, they don't have it here, but photographs and radiograph. Okay, you can have a panel, sometimes it's periapicals, it really, really depends. And Annie, I think, yes, we can have our friends answer over here. I just want to point out that you can have this type of old charting or this new type of charting. Okay, now let's move on to what's called a testlet. A testlet is only for community oral health. A testlet is just a formatting thing. So as you can see here, you have an entire like 3 paragraph of that tells you that there's an employee that is working for the coal mining industry or the area, it's employment rate, and they did some research over here, DEFT score, we know what those are, right? You know, get floor and rinse program, all those things sound like community, right? So basically you're gonna have 1 to 5 paragraph of a specific scenario, and you'll have to say, hey, what is the best option for this question, and this question? So community oral health, again, they're bundled like that in testlet. So more likely you're either going to get one testlet that's about 10 questions, or, you know, he said there's like 3 to 5, or you can have 2 smaller testlets with 5 questions each or something like that. So just knowing that there are about 1 or 2 testlets per examination in your short format. Please note that here there's only 3 to 5 answer options for each question. Sometimes at StudentRDH, we have 3 answer choices. Why? It's because we're doing exactly what they're doing. Sometimes we have 5 answer choices, that's that. Usually it's 4, but again, sometimes when you see 3, there's a reason why. Sometimes they give you 5 answer choices. Any questions on the testlet? Any questions you want to ask? Okay. So very simply, what are the formats of this question? Very simple 3, completion, when you just have to complete the end, something by the, and then you fill in the gap or the blank at the end. Question, the most common type that we see in schools. Negative is something except, or not, or false. So in this case, you know, which of the following is effective? Each of the following is affected by saliva except. So we're looking at one that is not correct, that is not affected by saliva, right? Is Miranda, we're going to get to that. Thank you so much. Miranda is talking about the first statement, second statement is true and false, right? Okay, so let's finish this. So when you have an except questions, you're looking at the one that is odd. You're not looking at the one that's correct. You're looking at the one that is not correct. Okay, so I'm not going to say the answer here. We're not here for that per se, but we're here to maybe make a guess. Anybody want to try to guess here what the answer would be here? A, B, C, and D. Thank you, Caitlin, Anna, Alexis, Paulina. Protein, right? The saliva breaks down our bread over here. Protein, it needs to go down over here, our stomach, to be digested. So remember amylase, that's what's in your saliva over here. So good job. Perfect. Amylase. I don't know how to pronounce things sometimes. You might have found out when you hear videos from me. Okay, I'll tell you why. I was born in Korea, but I grew up in France. And then I went to Korea, then I went to North America. So there's just 3 different accents in me. So that's why sometimes my accent comes out in the mix of those 3. So a little bit of background about me. Amylase. Thank you, Pat. I should review my pronunciation with you sometimes. Pharma, forget about it, right? But anyways, we're getting to the point of what we really need to know, right? Okay, so let me continue here the story with, okay, we have 3 different question types in the examination. We've seen the testlet. It is just a few paragraphs and you have to think about the scenario, but again, 3 different question types, same deal. Now let's talk about the first statement and second statement, because our friend brought that up to us, right? Anybody ever heard that the first statement and second statement has disappeared? I'm just gonna say it first over here like that. Yeah. Okay, the worst. Okay, Paulina feels very strong on that. Nicole. Okay. Okay, good news, guys. It's gone. I'm like, first statement is true, second statement is false. Those things are gone. Okay, but before you get too excited, I still need to give you an announcement. Exactly. Okay, who said that you still saw it, Caitlin? Okay, let's not share this news too quickly yet, because have you seen the NBDHE is delayed by 3 to 5 years? And typically when they say we don't have this anymore, it still takes a good 3 to 5 years for them to actually delete that. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, even though it tells you, well, you're not going to see this, or it's not part of our exam format, you might still see that. Does that make sense to you? I'm trying to really read between the lines for you here. Okay, I'm saying things that does not exactly is written here at all. I'm reading in between the lines, and I'm just making the statement based on what has happened before. Before, there are other types of questions, they have disappeared here on the guideline, but they were still on the examination. So that's what I'm trying to say. You can be happy that maybe there's less, but I don't want you to think 100% of them are gone. That's it. If you see it saying, okay, that's okay, I'll go through it. But I just didn't want you to have a crazy surprise when you go to the examination. Oh, Caitlin, I would love to know which school you're going to, because not many schools now take the HESI exit exam. University, oh, UNE, okay. Perfect, thank Caitlin. And if you don't mind, I would actually love to talk to you about that, because a lot of students have questions. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we're clear on the true and false questions, right? Although they don't have it here, you might still see some, okay? Please don't call them and say, Claire told me this, okay? Because I should really not say things like that, actually, okay? Thank you, Taylor, Palm Beach State College. I'm gonna, if I can, I do not see your email or the last name over here. If you could send me a quick email, that would be really, really helpful, Taylor. I just don't wanna, share your last name or your email here with everybody. So if you can say, hey, I know Claire, you wanted to talk to me, that would be awesome. Thank you, Claire. I'm not Taylor and Caitlin. Thank you. You guys are awesome. See, this is like a community. I'm just so thankful for you guys. All right, so yeah, what I'm trying to say is do not call them and say Claire said that, because I am not supposed to say things like that, okay? All right, let's continue here. We have, okay, so one more thing I need to emphasize here is scores range from 49 to 99, with the 75 representing the minimum. Okay, what they're trying to say basically is there's a 75 minimum passing score. We all know that, right? However, wait here, corresponding modification is made to the score scale. What they're trying to say, let me just summarize it here, or let's continue here. They have what's called a scoring key that they use, and they adjust for any minor differences across different examination forms. Okay, let me rephrase. Your question, we say Taylor, Anna, or Miranda's questions are all different versions of the examination. Because of that, they have this thing that's called the score key that's going to tell them what version you got, and according to that, if your 75 needs to be adjusted to an 80 or 70. So that's why, thank you, Miranda, at StudentRDH we give you the raw score, because we don't want to play with that key that's just in the NBDHE. Like, I'll be very honest, I do not know exactly what the key is, because they have like hundreds of versions, and it would be very false of me to tell you your 70 turns into a 75. I cannot guarantee you that. It depends on the question you're going to get that day. That's why StudentRDH will give you the raw score. But what key you're going to get, that's another question. We have no clue what key you're going to get. You have no clue what key you're going to get. So that's why let's not try to play around with what translation this is. Let's pretend you just need at least a minimum of 75 raw score. And that would probably help you score or just aim a little higher. And that's it. So I'm just trying to tell you again that we do not know what the scoring key is, and you do not know. And it might change according to, their new questions that they come up with. So, it's almost like pretend you don't see it. Pretend you're just aiming for, let's say 78. You're aiming for 80. Shoot for the stars and land on the moon. That's what we're going to do here. Any questions on this? And Kira, you're asking, is it adjusted usually lower or higher? Again, I cannot, we have no clue because that will depend on your version. Okay, thank you guys. All right, one more thing I wanted you to see is there experimental questions that are not scored. What? Let's say you have 100 questions, maybe 3 of them are experimental questions, but you do not know what they are. They look like normal questions. That's why, again, the 75 can to an 80 or a 70, depending on which of those experimentals questions you had, how many you had. And again, your version, everybody's version is going to be different. So instead of being graded with 100 questions, you're suddenly graded on 97 questions. That changes everything again. The math is different. If you had 10 experimental questions, because you're graded on 90. However, if you did a great job on the experimental questions, unfortunately, they're not going to count. So you might feel like I actually did a good job, but I failed. What happened? Maybe this. Or if you do the opposite, I'm like, I thought I really just like did I just bombed it, and I came home and I cried. But actually, I passed. Maybe you did wrong on the experimental question. So there's just a lot of question marks here. And my goal is for you to shoot for the stars and land on the moon. Okay, we're shooting for actually 80 at StudentRDH for you to land on 75. Does that make sense? So there are some things out there that some people say your 80 is translated into a 75. Again, even sometimes, honestly, I'm thinking, I don't know, what are they looking at that I do not see that like makes that translation? So if you have any information, please share. I would love to study that, see if it's valid, or see if there's something I can help you with. And Annie, yes, some people have the harder version. Why? Again, because everybody's set of questions is different. This is really a lottery system at that point. So you have no clue what you're going to get. Okay, let's continue. Just only a few more things I want to highlight is 3 to 4 weeks when you see the results. Generally, students say they saw it a little bit faster. And then you will give permission for the result to be shared with the dean. Okay, that's all happens. That's why the dean knows if you pass or fail. It's already built into the system. Oh, I know. Is that too much for suspense? I know. What do we do within that time, right? When you're waiting for your exam results to come out. So this is the fee, how do you sign up? You have to get permission from the school, number one. I'm not the one who gives you permission. You have to ask the school, when can I start signing up? You coordinate that with your faculties, right? And Teresa, you're asking, what is the current success rate with StudentRDH? The current success rate with StudentRDH is still fantastic compared to the very poor success rate overall with the NBDHE, the short format examination. How do we know what our success rate is? Because you guys, all of you can understand that if you fail, you can either ask for an extension until you pass because you feel like you just needed more time to study, or you just didn't do a good job, or there were some weakness that you know of that you couldn't address, or you can ask for a refund. So you bet if someone fails, we get that email saying, Claire, can you give me an extension? Or can I refund? That's how we know who failed and who got a refund. But before, giving your refund, we would invite you to attend actually our tutoring session for free. Also, if you fail, okay? And things happen in life. It might not be your knowledge per se. You fail sometimes because, anxiety number one, sometimes you just don't feel good. Maybe the testing center did not make you feel comfortable. Many of those things. Caitlin, are you asking if we have videos on how to use StudentRDH? Is that what you're trying to ask here? Please let me know. I can definitely sort. Okay, perfect. How to study each portion. Okay, guys, if you have recommendation, please send me an email because I look at them and our team looks at them, and that's going to help us understand, okay, what else do we need to do? Okay. Perfect. But Anna, yeah, those are the things. Do you want to do the website or the book? Those are very difficult choices and very hard for me to say because we did that so we can cater to any learning style. Some people like this. I mean, as you can see, I still downloaded, this is the guideline. I still have it in my hand. But also when I'm on the go, the only thing I can do is this. I mean, I would hate to carry my textbook in my backpack, right? Sometimes I don't even carry anything. So when I have 10 minutes post office, I'm just standing there, I can do some. So it really depends on how you want to use it. However, what I promise is that you can ask for an extension if you want more time. And also, I am in the process actually of creating some how to use StudentRDH videos about how to maximize your time to what I would recommend for you to put in your planner. So we're going to do that. It's actually on my calendar to be released by the end of February. So you have some step 1, 2, and 3. Again, you cater it to your specific personality and style, but that's coming up. And thank you. Those come out because you guys have requested that online. You have asked me that via email. So continue chatting with me. Okay, lastly, what I want to say is just in case you need an extension, you can get a 45 days extension from the NBDHE. Maybe you didn't graduate on time. Maybe the school didn't let you graduate on time. So you have to ask them for an extension. But when you do that, you have to cancel the appointment before asking for an extension. So let's say you were going to take in May 1st. It's like, I actually want to extend it because I'm not actually graduating on time. Then you have to cancel it and call them. Okay, and Emily, seems like you have a great system here. You go through the website, take notes, do the quizzes, you pass, then go through the book and add notes on the book and mark up the page. I really like that, Emily. You know, it's like you're going over twice in a different format, which is really important. Exam is on the computer. Sometimes the book is helpful too. So you're doing it double in a different format. And when you're in the book, you can probably look at the very specific detailed words and things like that. Thank you. Okay, so how far in advance should you schedule for the exam? You know, first of all, you need permission from your school. And then you have to understand how many days do you need to study before the examination. The average is about 3 months. So if your exam is like, if you graduate around May, give yourself 3 months. Maybe you want to start soon so you can get that May graduation and May exam date. Caitlin, you are saying you're looking at the quiz first before looking at the module. And then you go through the module and take both quizzes at the end. Thank you, Caitlin. That's exactly also what I want our students to do. I want you to assess yourself by using quiz 1. It's kind of getting a baseline, just like you take your blood pressure, your patient's blood pressure, probing that before you actually jump into the procedure. That's what you're doing. You're taking your own temperature. And from there saying, maybe that helps you also be aware, Caitlin, about I really didn't know this information. When I read about peri, I should really be careful about implants, for example. Then when you read it, you're more alerted. And then you take the quiz again, right? Caitlin, yeah, that it seems like that helps you keep on track. So that's our system. And actually, that's what I'm going to make video of how you take your first baseline before jumping into the procedure. Okay. So Janie Fan, I don't know if you meant to say that to me or everybody, maybe to everybody. I think that's everybody's helping each other out. So if you don't mind, Jenny is asking how many months should I wait to take board after I graduate in May? Some 1 month after graduation. So any recommendation of when you think you should take or she should take the board examination after graduation? Right away, Miranda. Well, I think one thing I can say is depend on how you have planned your exam date. Meaning, are you starting right now? Because if you're not, if you're starting in March, I don't know, I feel like you might need a little bit of more time to review. But if you're starting right now to study, I say May is a great time. Teresa, you said before you graduate. So as you can see, there's really no answer to what is the best time to do so. It is when you feel like you're ready. Some students have less in the last semester. Some schools just still have a lot of classes. So it depends on how many hours can you study every day as well. Okay, very lastly, we're going to look at the short format examination schedule, and that would be it for us today. So as you can see, I'm not going to talk about the long format, but discipline-based, standalone item, 85 item, an hour and a half. You have a 15-minute break. It says optional. If you ask me, this is not an option. You guys take that 15, come back after that. Do not try to skip that. You know what? The myth about being in the zone for hours is not true. Your brain is just incapable of doing that. Let me tell you a story. You know those people who sit in the controlling room in the airport, like in the tower? So I have a friend who's a pilot who used to work in the airplane industries for a very long time. Anyways, this is what he tells me. You know, people who are up there making comments about, hey, airplane, 774, you're ready to take off. You know, people who do things like that. I'm making this up. I've never been there. What they do is they're not allowed, literally not allowed to work more than 2 hours. They are kicked out of the room after 2 hours. Why? Because you can understand their job is critical. They have to care for people's safety. Like if you call 2 airplanes at the same time and crash into each other, big deal. So basically one of the systems they have implemented is for them to take mandatory break after 2 hours. This is the same. After an hour and a half in the examination of a critical day of your life, do not take that chance of making mistakes afterwards, because the brain, even though your body might feel like, hey, I just want to go through this, I want to be done, or you feel like you might be in the zone, the truth is your brain is fried at that point. So think about that. And Caitlin, you're saying my car even alerts me every 2 hours to take breaks. Exactly. Cars are like that too. It's known. Drivers should take breaks every 2 hours. Okay, so anyhow, my point is 15-minute optional is not an option. Take the full 15. Drink something. Our brain is two things, glucose and water. Glucose, you might not be able to access your hobby, but if you do, because here, during unscheduled break, you cannot access your belongings, but because this is a scheduled break, you probably will be able to access it. I say probably because I hear some different stories depending on the exam center. And right now, COVID has just thrown everything out of the door. Every exam center is different. However, you can get some glucose and water. Okay, and then you come back with session 2, which is 70 items, an hour, 50 minutes, another 2 hours here, and then you're done with your day. So this is what I wanted to say, guys. This really was the highlights of some of the important parts of, we have this NBDHE guideline that's like 27-page long. I just wanted to go over things that are really important for you. So I'm recording this currently. If you need this, let me think for a second if I want to put it out there or if I want you to email me, okay? Again, sorry, I'm just gonna think through the process so it's easiest for everybody. Any questions on anything, our friends over here? And any questions, if you have on StudentRDH, not just the NBDHE guideline, this was a free session for everybody. If you are hesitant about StudentRDH, let me know. Maybe there's some things I can help you understand about what we bring for you. We have Casey, StudentRDH updated for us to study for the new NBDHE guideline. You bet, Casey. Everything we do is keeping this in mind. But again, Casey, if you remember, there's some true and false questions that I think have not disappeared yet completely. Therefore, you will still see true and false questions. Does that make sense, Casey? So you might still see something that are like, oh, is this outdated? Generally, there's a reason why we do that. Yes. And again, if you have questions, I'm very available. This is where I work I come here every single day. I mean, not on the weekends, but I come here every single day. So again, if you want to share this information to your faculty members too, that is great. And, other than that, I just want to thank you all for being here. Either it's the morning for you or the afternoon for all of you. You are a wonderful, wonderful group in StudentRDH. If you want the success package, it still has a $60 discount. We thought about taking that out like at the end of the year. That was supposed to be just 2020 COVID special. However, we know that COVID is not over, so it's still there. Please use it. And you know what I'm really excited about? Can I make one more announcement, please? I know I've been talking for like the past an hour. So one more announcement is that, Julie, if you go to the website, you're gonna have promo code. It's literally success. That's a, no, wait, yes, it's success. Put it on your checkout. Elizabeth, anything has changed since November 2020? Honestly, not. Nothing has changed since 2020 or November 2020, especially. Okay, not that I can really would tell you. Okay, Elizabeth, if you have more questions later, because I continue to look at this, our team continuously look at this, so we will be able to tell you more. But hey, everybody is really cheering for you, Elizabeth, and anybody who is going to take the examination. How many times can we retake the examination? Do we know? Anybody want to help out here? 5. Thank you for answering. Exactly. So you have 5 chances, which is good. Okay. So don't feel too much pressure. That's one of the things too. You know, guys, things happen in life. And you know, I have a really good friend of mine who is an excellent, I mean, she's a world star dental hygienist now. But you know what? She failed her exam when she was a student. And I would never imagine her failing the exam. But things happen again. Okay, so Casey, my announcement is, here it is. At StudentRDH, we're about to release literally today, the true and false questions. What are true and false questions? So let's say, for example, you're studying head and neck anatomy and you just studied the veins. Then we have 3 to 10 true and false questions right after that. And then let's say you continue head and neck anatomy and then you started to study about the muscles. Then you have more true and false questions on the muscles. So the reason why we're doing this is because we're using the scientific method, and you know, wake up memory. I mean, that's my jam. If you know, memory is my thing. And it's not just about memory. It's like, how do we retain information better? Can we be effective in whatever we do so we don't feel like a failure every time we read something? We think, oh my God, did I forget everything I learned last week? So I studied those all the time. And the reason why we have true and false question is because the magic happens not when you're reading, guys. Actually, it's not when you're studying, it's actually when you're retrieving this information. So I just wrote a blog about, it's like buying grocery. The magic doesn't happen when you buy grocery. The magic happens when you actually use that to cook. Just like that, putting information in your head is not the magic portion. It's taking it out using a quiz that's going to help you consolidate, solidify this information. So right now we had like study, and at the end a quiz, okay? We decided to do the same thing, quiz, but keep inserting some true and false question in the middle after every single little topic. So it's a really quick recall process before you forget about it. So it's really, again, scientific proven, like nobody else, no other boards review do that. It's only that because I'm really a nerd for things like that. And I teach this to faculty members. I teach this in other places where education is important. So we did that. You will soon see that true and false. And Elizabeth, anybody who are studying for the boards again too, maybe this is going to be helpful. Instead of reading periodontology and do quiz 1 and 2, now you have the chance of reading one little section of periodontology, do some true and false questions so you can actually digest information before jumping to the next section. Does that make sense now? So that was my announcement. And I'm really excited about that. I'm excited because really it's about the scientific method. It's like the evidence-based method that we're using to improve everybody's potential. So again, we are going to be able to share that with you really soon at StudentRDH. Only us. Do that if you have feedback. That is great. And thank you all for being here today. I'm going to end my recording over here. And if you have questions, again, my email is claire.studentrdh. Have a great day, everybody. And Elizabeth and everybody who is taking it again, it's okay. Okay. Just feel good about yourself that you are trying, that we have more questions for you actually, and you bought yourself a little bit of time too. You're going to look back and saying that was a total COVID struggle, but I made it. So stay safe, everybody, and thank you again.